The tragic death. The peaceful colony on the distant planet of Voria was quiet, almost too quiet. The sun had just begun to dip behind the horizon, casting a warm orange glow across the lush green fields. The wind gently swayed the tall grass, and all seemed perfect in this far-off corner of the galaxy. People went about their daily tasks. Children played in the streets, and farmers tended to their crops. Life was simple, and for the people of Voria, it was everything they ever needed. Among the children was a young girl named Lyra. She was only 7 years old, with bright blue eyes and long black hair that shimmered in the sunlight. She loved running through the fields, laughing as she tried to catch the small, colorful birds that flew between the trees. Lyra was known for her smile, and every person in the colony adored her. Her innocence was a symbol of the peace they all held dear. But as the sun set that evening, everything changed. The first sign of danger came when the sky above the colony suddenly darkened. It wasn't the usual nightfall. This darkness felt different, unnatural. People stopped what they were doing and looked up, their eyes narrowing with confusion. There was a strange sound, a low hum in the distance, like the rumble of thunder, but it wasn't coming from the clouds. It was something else. Lyra, unaware of the growing tension, was still playing in the fields. She chased a bird, laughing as it flitted just out of her reach. She had no idea that the world around her was about to shatter. Then, without warning, the ground shook violently. The once calm sky was ripped open by an explosion of light. The first missile struck the colony's outer defenses, sending a shockwave through the air. People screamed, running for shelter, as the city's alarms blared in the distance. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and the air was thick with the sound of destruction. Lyra stopped running, her eyes wide with fear. She looked up to the sky, where ships, huge alien warships, emerged from the clouds like predators descending upon their prey. They were massive, far larger than anything the people of Voria had ever seen. Their sleek, metallic bodies reflected the fading light of the sun as they hovered above the colony, blocking out the stars. The aliens had arrived. At first, the people didn't understand. They thought it was a mistake, perhaps a misunderstanding. But the truth quickly became clear. The aliens had come to destroy them. Lyra's mother, Mia, saw her daughter standing there in the open field, alone, as the chaos around her unfolded. Her heart raced, and panic gripped her chest. She tried to run to Lyra, but before she could move, another explosion sent a shockwave through the ground, knocking her off her feet. The force of the blast sent her tumbling into the dirt. She scrambled to get up, her hands shaking, but by the time she reached her feet, it was already too late. Lyra was gone. The alien forces had landed swiftly, their ships descending with terrifying precision. The warships released wave after wave of energy blasts, tearing through buildings and scattering people in all directions. The colony was being torn apart, its peaceful life shredded in seconds. Mia's heart sank as she realized the scope of the attack. This wasn't just a raid. This was annihilation. Desperation and grief filled the air. Maya stumbled through the wreckage, calling out for her daughter, her voice barely audible over the roaring explosions. But it was no use. Lyra was lost, buried under the rubble of what had once been their home. By the time the alien forces had finished their initial assault, nothing was left of the peaceful colony. The once beautiful fields were now a wasteland of smoke and ash. The people of Voria, helpless and broken, were left in shock. The aliens showed no mercy, leaving no survivors. The colony had been wiped out in minutes, leaving only memories of a life that once was. And somewhere, in the silence of the devastation, Maya fell to her knees, her heart broken beyond repair. The death of her child was more than a personal loss. It was the spark that would ignite a fire of rage, of vengeance, and of determination. The galaxy had underestimated humanity's ability to fight back. But this was just the beginning. The death of one innocent child would awaken a fury the galaxy had never seen before. And as Mia looked at the sky, where the alien ship still hovered, She swore that she would make them pay. They had taken her daughter, but they had awakened something far more dangerous than they could ever have imagined. A storm was coming. The universe would soon know the true power of humanity. The awakening of fury. The devastation on Voria was only the beginning. Across the galaxy, the news of the brutal alien attack spread like wildfire. Systems once peaceful, planets once thriving, all felt the tremors of the catastrophe. But one thing was certain: no one had expected humanity to be silent. The galaxy thought that Earth, that distant, quiet world, had no power left. They thought humanity had become weak, too divided, too caught up in their own struggles. They were wrong. Back on Earth, the world was in chaos. The leaders, the generals, and the people of every nation were glued to their screens as the reports from Voria flooded in. There was no escaping the horror. But even in the face of such overwhelming loss, a cold resolve began to form among humanity's leaders. Mia, standing alone on the ruined planet of Voria, still felt the crushing weight of grief. Her heart screamed with every beat, but somewhere deep within, something else stirred. A fire, a burning desire to avenge her daughter's death. The galaxy would pay, and humanity would not stand idly by. Back on Earth, military officials were not idle either. They knew the time had come to awaken a power that had been hidden away for generations. In secret, deep beneath the oceans of Earth, an incredible discovery was being made. A fleet, long forgotten, lay hidden in the deep waters. This was no ordinary fleet. This was humanity's most powerful secret weapon, a fleet of colossal warships capable of reshaping the entire galaxy. The Hidden Armada, as it was known in whispers among the highest military circles, had been built years before. It had been designed in case the Earth ever faced an existential threat. But the warships had been abandoned as humanity's leaders grew complacent and believed they would never need them. But now, the time had come to awaken them. The fleet's ships, massive and silent, rose from their ocean tombs. The sea parted as the enormous vessels broke through the surface, their gleaming surfaces reflecting the sun's harsh light. Each ship was a fortress, each one capable of unleashing devastation on an unimaginable scale. The waters around Earth's coastlines were alive with activity as massive crews scrambled to prepare these ships for battle. On the surface, humanity was rallying. People gathered, not in fear, but in fury. The galaxy had mocked them, underestimated them. And now, the consequences were unfolding. The once quiet world of Earth had become a forge of revenge, and humanity was prepared to strike back with everything they had. At the heart of the operation stood General Elias Drake, a man who had seen many battles, but none like this. His stern eyes never wavered as he stared at the monitor in front of him, showing the images of the alien warships that had destroyed Voria. "We are not going to just fight them," Drake said, his voice low and commanding. "We are going to show them what it means to face a power they never knew existed." The death of Lyra, and so many others, had awoken something deep within humanity, a primal fury. No longer were they the quiet species, hidden on a small planet in the far corner of the galaxy. Humanity had a weapon. Humanity had a purpose. And now, humanity had a reason to unleash hell upon those who dared to challenge them. Across the galaxy, other systems began to feel the ripple of the storm that was gathering. The alien race that had attacked Voria, known as the Thrax, had long believed themselves to be the most powerful in the galaxy. They had enslaved countless species, obliterated entire civilizations, and crushed any that dared defy them. They had assumed the galaxy was theirs to command, and for a time, they had been right. But the Thrax had made one fatal mistake. They had underestimated Earth. They had underestimated humanity. As the Hidden Armada made its way across Earth's oceans and into the sky, the news of their awakening was broadcast to every corner of the world. People stood in awe, watching as their mightiest weapon prepared for war. They knew that the next steps would determine not just their survival, but their legacy. Earth would either fall to the Thrax or rise to become the most powerful force the galaxy had ever seen. In the distance, the Thrax ships continued their patrols, unaware that the true danger was already on its way. They laughed when they first heard of Earth's slow warship. They thought it was a joke, a misunderstanding. But what they did not know was that this slow warship was not a symbol of weakness. It was a symbol of humanity's patience, of their quiet strength, waiting for the right moment. And now, that moment had arrived. On Earth, a child had died, and with that death came the birth of a fury that would echo across the stars. The Thrax had mocked humanity's weakness, but they would soon learn that when humanity was pushed too far, they would rise up, strike with a vengeance, and make the galaxy tremble. The storm had started. The war had begun. The fury unleashed. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. The Thrax, secure in their perceived dominance, were blind to the storm that was rapidly approaching. As their warships cruised through the dark expanse of space, they had no inkling that Earth's hidden power was slowly awakening, piece by piece, preparing to strike with unimaginable force. Back on Earth, the hidden armada was ready. General Elias Drake stood in the command center, his eyes fixed on the large screen ahead. The massive ships, once thought lost to time, were now fully operational, their weapon systems primed and their engines roaring to life. Each ship was a behemoth, brimming with advanced technology and lethal weaponry, far beyond anything the Thrax had encountered. The world watched in silence. People from every nation, from every corner of Earth, gathered in front of their screens, waiting for the inevitable. The leaders of the world stood united, realizing that this moment would define them for generations to come. For too long, humanity had been underestimated. For too long, the galaxy had mocked them. But now, the time for silence had passed. Humanity was ready to show the universe its true strength. Drake's voice echoed through the command center as he addressed the fleet, his words resolute and unyielding. Today, we are not just fighting for survival. Today, we fight for justice. We fight for every world the Thrax have crushed, every innocent life they have destroyed. And we fight for Lyra, and every other soul they have taken from us. The crew inside each ship listened intently, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement. They knew what they were about to do was dangerous, but they also knew it was necessary. Humanity's wrath had been ignited, and there was no turning back. As the fleet began its journey out of Earth's orbit, the skies above shimmered with the glow of their engines, the massive warships cutting through the atmosphere like titans. The quiet and peaceful world they had once known was no longer the same. Earth was now a world on the brink of war, and its fury was about to be unleashed on an unsuspecting galaxy. Across the stars, the Thrax warlords were preparing for their next conquest, their eyes fixed on weaker, easier targets. They had been warned by scouts about the growing unrest on Earth, but they dismissed the reports as mere rumors, an idle threat from a species they considered insignificant. The idea that humanity could pose a real threat was laughable to them. But as the massive fleet of human warships exited Earth's atmosphere and entered deep space, something changed. A sudden and eerie silence fell over the galaxy, a quiet before the storm. No one knew it yet, but the galaxy was about to be rocked by a force far greater than anything they had anticipated. The Thrax commanders, arrogant and overconfident, were taken off guard when their sensors began to pick up strange signals. The readings were unusual, the kind that didn't fit any known ship profiles. They dismissed them at first, thinking it was just a glitch. But then, the signals grew stronger, and the space around them began to hum with an unknown energy. "What is this?" muttered Commander Krell of the Thrax fleet as he observed the readings from his command ship. "We're not sure, sir," his first officer replied, his voice filled with confusion. "But it's getting stronger. It's coming from the direction of Earth." The Thrax fleet was now in the perfect position, unaware that the fleet of human warships was rapidly closing in. The lead ship in the hidden armada, A colossal warship named Dominion glided silently through space. It was followed closely by 5 other massive warships, each one equipped with advanced weaponry and a powerful fleet of fighter ships. The Dominion was a silent predator, its weapons locked and loaded. Back on Earth, people held their breath. The whole world was waiting, knowing that the moment had arrived. Humanity's revenge was about to begin. The Thrax, still clueless about the danger lurking in the deep void of space, continued their patrols. They did not see the fleet of human warships moving closer, moving with a purpose. They did not realize that every moment they delayed would cost them dearly. As the human fleet closed in on the Thrax's main fleet, Drake issued the command that would change everything. Initiate attack. In an instant, the Dominion and the other warships unleashed a barrage of firepower that lit up the dark void of space. The first wave of energy blasts tore through the Thrax ships, leaving them little more than burning husks. The Thrax warlords, who had laughed at humanity, screamed in disbelief as their once imposing fleets were torn apart by the fury of Earth's hidden armada. The Thrax commanders were panicked. They tried to retaliate, but the human fleet was too fast, too strong, and too relentless. Every shot fired by the Thrax seemed to be met with a devastating counterattack. Earth's slow warships had unleashed hell upon them. On the command bridge of the Dominion, General Drake watched as the Thrax fleet disintegrated before his eyes. His eyes were cold, calculating, and as he looked out into the dark abyss, he spoke only one sentence: "This is just the beginning." The fury that had been ignited by the death of a child had now consumed an entire galaxy. Humanity was no longer the weak, quiet species they once were. The universe had witnessed the awakening of a power that had been lying in wait, silent, but ready to strike when the time was right. And now, the Thrax would learn just how deadly that power could be. The galaxy shakes. The galaxy was in turmoil. The once dominant Thrax Empire, known for its ruthless conquests and endless expansion, was now reeling from an unexpected onslaught. The very species they had mocked, a species they believed too weak to challenge their supremacy, had struck with an unrelenting fury. Their fleet, underestimated and ignored, had turned the tides of war in an instant. Across the vast reaches of space, the Thrax fleet was in disarray. Their command ships had been ripped apart, their fighters scattered and destroyed in the blink of an eye. Panic had spread like wildfire throughout their ranks, and yet the most terrifying part was the realization that they hadn't even seen the full extent of humanity's power. What was once dismissed as a joke, Earth's slow warships, had proven to be something far worse, a nightmare that was hunting them down. On the Dominion, General Elias Drake was a picture of calm amidst the chaos. His command bridge buzzed with activity as his crew carried out his orders with military precision. They had been waiting for this moment for years, and now that the time had come, they were determined to show the galaxy the true strength of humanity. No longer were they the helpless species cowering in the shadows of more powerful empires. They had become the storm. The Dominion, a warship of unimaginable size and firepower, glided effortlessly through the debris of the Thrax fleet. Every shot that came from it was devastating, carrying through Thrax vessels like paper. And the other ships in humanity's hidden fleet were equally deadly. The Thrax couldn't retreat fast enough. They couldn't fight back quickly enough. Commander Krell, one of the Thrax's highest-ranking officers, was staring at his warship's wrecked systems in disbelief. His mind was racing, his thoughts clouded with fear. "This can't be happening," he growled, slamming his fist against the command console. "We need reinforcements. Now." But it was too late. The Thrax Empire's arrogance had blinded them to the growing threat. They had laughed at the slow human warships, assuming their primitive tech was no match for their advanced fleets. Now their ships were burning, their soldiers dying, and their once proud empire was on the brink of collapse. Drake's voice crackled over the comms as he issued his next command. "All ships, prepare for the final strike. We end this today." A surge of energy pulsed through the Dominion as it prepared to fire its main weapon, a devastating cannon capable of wiping out entire fleets with a single shot. The energy buildup was immense, shaking the very foundations of the ship. The Thrax had no idea what they were about to face. The Dominion fired. The beam of energy was a brilliant blue flash, cutting through the darkness of space like a cosmic spear. It collided with the largest Thrax warship, and in an instant, the ship was obliterated, reduced to nothing more than particles floating in space. The shockwave from the blast sent ripples through the remaining Thrax fleet. Their warships attempted to scatter, but there was nowhere to hide. Humanity's fleet was relentless, hunting down every last Thrax vessel with precision and deadly efficiency. It wasn't just a military attack, it was a statement. The statement was simple. Humanity would no longer be ignored. The galaxy would no longer mock them. They had been underestimated for far too long, and now the galaxy was witnessing the consequences. As the Dominion continued its assault, Drake watched the chaos unfold before him. His expression was cold, but his eyes burned with an intensity that could not be quenched. He had known that this moment would come, but even he couldn't have predicted the scale of their fury. The Thrax had made a grave mistake when they thought humanity was weak, and now they were paying for it. "I want all remaining ships tracked and neutralized," Drake ordered, his voice unwavering. "No survivors. This ends now." One by one, the remaining Thrax ships were wiped out, their destruction a testament to the immense power of humanity's hidden armada. The survivors, if there were any, would be left to tell the tale of the day they underestimated Earth. Across the galaxy, news of the devastation spread quickly. Other species who had once seen humanity as insignificant began to take notice. Whispers began to circulate about the terrible power Earth had kept hidden for so long. The galaxy was now waking up to the reality that humanity was no longer the prey. They were the hunters. As the final Thrax warship exploded into nothingness, a hush fell over the galaxy. There was no more laughter, no more mockery. The silence that followed was deafening. Humanity had struck back, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The aftermath. The stars were silent. The once proud Thrax Empire, which had dominated the galaxy for centuries, now lay in ruins. The once boasting generals and proud soldiers who had mocked humanity's power were now gone, erased by the precision and relentless might of Earth's fleets. The silence that followed the last explosion was a stark contrast to the chaos that had consumed the battlefield just moments earlier. For the survivors, the reality was starting to set in. The Thrax had underestimated humanity in the most catastrophic way possible. And now, there was no turning back. On the Dominion, General Elias Drake stood alone in the command center. The usual hum of the ship's systems was replaced by an eerie quiet. His fingers hovered over the control panel as he stared at the flickering lights. The devastation was overwhelming. The victory was theirs, but the cost of this battle would have long-lasting consequences. He thought about the children who had suffered on Earth, the innocent lives that had been taken, the families who had lived in fear of invasion. This victory, while monumental, came at a cost, and Drake knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had just learned how powerful humanity was. The question now was how many would rise up in anger at Earth's sudden dominance. "We've won." A voice interrupted his thoughts. It was Lieutenant Marla, a trusted officer who had stood by Drake's side since the beginning of the campaign. Her voice was soft, but there was a palpable tension in it. "But the galaxy is in chaos. They will not forget this." Drake turned toward her, his expression grim. "We've sent a message, Lieutenant, but I fear it's just the start of something much bigger. Now, we wait. We prepare for whatever comes next." Marla nodded. "Do you think others will try to challenge us?" "Yes," Drake said simply. "This victory will not go unnoticed. There are many empires in the galaxy, and none of them will allow this to pass without repercussions. We have shown our strength. Now they will either fall in line or they will fight back, and we will be ready. In the far reaches of the galaxy, the news of Earth's victory spread like wildfire. The Thrax, once seen as an invincible force, had been brought to its knees by a human fleet they had mocked as too slow, too weak. The destruction of their entire armada sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Alliances began to shift as other species and empires took notice of humanity's new position of power. Some feared humanity's wrath. Some began plotting revenge, eager to prove that they could still challenge Earth's supremacy. And some, realizing the potential of an alliance, began reaching out to humanity, hoping to form new partnerships. But there was a new fear spreading throughout the stars, one that no one had anticipated. Humanity's fleet, hidden for so long in the depths of space, was now out in the open. The Dominion and its sister ships were a terrifying presence, a reminder that Earth had been keeping something far more powerful than anyone had realized. The galaxy had not seen the full extent of what humanity was capable of, and that knowledge alone was enough to inspire both awe and fear. Back on Earth, the mood was different. While the victory had been hard-fought, there was a sense of unity among the people. No longer were they seen as the underdogs or the victims. They had become a force to be reckoned with, and the fear that had once gripped their world had now turned into something stronger: pride. But despite the newfound pride, there was a growing sense of unease among Earth's leaders. They knew that the galactic powers would not let this new balance of power go unchallenged. They had made powerful enemies in a matter of days. It would only be a matter of time before those enemies came calling. Drake stood on the observation deck of the Dominion, watching the stars as the ship slowly turned toward its next mission. His mind raced with thoughts of what was to come. This victory was far from over. The galaxy had learned of humanity's power, but the true test had yet to come. He was ready. Earth was ready, but even he could not predict what the galaxy would do in retaliation, and that uncertainty weighed heavy on his mind. As the ship cruised through space, Drake knew one thing for certain: they had sent a message to the galaxy. The question was, how would the galaxy respond? The first response. The Dominion drifted through space, its sleek hull gliding silently across the endless void. Inside the command center, General Elias Drake stood, his face cast in the dim light of the ship's interior. The galaxy had changed overnight. Earth's victory over the Thrax Empire had sent shockwaves that rippled across countless star systems. And now, it seemed like every galaxy-wide power had something to say about it. Drake turned to Lieutenant Marla, who was scanning data on the control panel. "Anything new from the galactic leaders?" he asked, his voice steady but heavy with anticipation. Marla looked up, her face serious. "Yes, sir. There's been movement on several fronts. The Vicar, the Volthari, and even the Kaldan Syndicate have sent messages, demands, threats, and everything in between." Drake's brow furrowed as he processed the information. The galaxy was not a place that took humiliation lightly. The Thrax, once feared as the strongest empire, had been toppled in a single brutal strike by humanity's fleet. The other galactic empires would not stand idly by. They were preparing for retaliation, but what form would it take? "We need to respond," Marla said, her voice grim. "The galaxy is looking at us, watching closely to see how we react. If we show weakness now, it will only encourage more challenges." Drake nodded. "We'll respond, but not with threats or demands. We will show them what we can do if they dare to cross us." Suddenly, the holoprojector flickered to life, and a stern figure appeared before them. It was High Commander Kalar, leader of the Vicar, one of the oldest and most respected empires in the galaxy. His presence was known, his reputation feared. And now, it seemed, he was ready to engage with humanity. "General Drake," Kalar's voice echoed throughout the room, "your fleet has crossed a line. The death of the Thrax Empire will not go unanswered. We demand that you disband your armada and submit to galactic oversight. Your aggression has made you a threat to every peaceful race in the galaxy." Drake's eyes narrowed. The audacity of the Vicar was astonishing. They had watched as the Thrax were obliterated, and now they had the nerve to issue ultimatums. It was clear that the Vicar saw this as an opportunity to reassert their power. The idea that Earth would bow to anyone, let alone a race as ancient as the Vicar, was laughable. "We will not be intimidated," Drake replied firmly. "We did not seek this war, but we will finish what we started. As for your demand, Commander Kalar, you should know that humanity does not bow to threats. Your time of unchecked power is over." Kalar's holographic image flickered, his face hardening. "You may have won one battle, General, but this is far from over. We will unite the galaxy's most powerful forces against you, and we will bring your warships to their knees." The transmission cut off abruptly, but the message was clear. The Vicar were not backing down, and their threat was just the beginning. The galaxy had felt the sting of their loss, and they were not about to let humanity's rise go unchallenged. Drake stood still, processing the weight of Kalar's words. The galaxy was on the brink of war. The challenge had been issued, but humanity had always been known for one thing: its ability to adapt, to rise against overwhelming odds. "We can't allow them to think we'll back down," Marla said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "But we need to be careful. We can't risk overextending ourselves too soon." Drake turned to face her, his resolve hardening. "We won't back down, but we'll be smart about this. We'll send a message that no one will ever forget." The holoprojector flickered again, but this time it wasn't Kalar's image that appeared. It was a new face, a human face. Admiral Lisa Grant, commander of Earth's most powerful warship, the Vanguard, stepped into view. She was a woman known for her sharp mind and unyielding determination. "General, we've received word from the Kaldin Syndicate. They've made contact, asking to negotiate a treaty. They claim they don't want to escalate the conflict, but we can't trust them." Drake's eyes hardened. The Kaldin Syndicate was a notorious group of mercenaries and traitors, with no loyalty to anyone but themselves. If they were offering a treaty, it was likely a trap. "We'll listen to their terms," Drake said, his voice cold. "But we won't trust them. Set a meeting in neutral space. Prepare for anything." Marla nodded, already inputting the coordinates for the meeting. "Understood, General. But we need to keep our fleet on high alert. If this is a trap, we can't afford to be caught off guard." Drake gave a sharp nod. "We'll be ready. We're not the ones who started this, but we will finish it. Humanity has already proven its strength. Now it's time to show the galaxy that we will never back down." As the Dominion prepared to head toward neutral space to meet with the Kaldin Syndicate, Drake's mind raced with possibilities. The galaxy was about to change in ways no one could predict. But one thing was certain: humanity was no longer just a target. They were a force to be reckoned with, and no one would ever forget the name of Earth again. The unforeseen trap. The Dominion cruised silently through the vast expanse of space, heading toward neutral territory. General Elias Drake stood at the center of the command room, his mind sharp, his thoughts racing. The meeting with the Kaldin Syndicate was supposed to be a diplomatic one, but he knew better. It was rare for mercenaries like them to seek peace. Every fiber of his being told him that something was wrong. Admiral Lisa Grant stood beside him, her expression equally grim. "General, we've detected a series of strange energy signatures ahead. It could be the Syndicate's fleet. They might be trying to hide their forces." Drake's eyes narrowed. He'd expected something like this. "Prepare for a defensive posture," he ordered. "We can't trust anyone out here. If it's a trap, we'll spring it on them first." As the Dominion drew closer to the neutral zone, a sense of tension filled the air. The galaxy's eyes were on humanity, waiting to see how they would handle the growing threats. Drake had worked hard to position humanity as a force that wouldn't be bullied. But now, they were walking into the heart of enemy territory, and nothing about this felt right. A transmission pinged, breaking the silence. The face of the Kaldin representative, A slender alien with violet skin and sharp features appeared on the holoscreen. "General Drake," the alien began, its voice smooth and measured. "We are prepared to discuss terms for a ceasefire. We realize that the situation has escalated beyond anyone's control. I assure you, we are not here to deceive you. We wish for peace." Drake remained calm, his expression neutral, but inside, he was already preparing for the worst. "I hear your words," he said, "but we will only trust actions, not promises. Our fleet is on high alert, and any sudden movements will be seen as hostile. Proceed with your terms." The called-in representative nodded slowly. "We have no desire for war, General, but we believe it is time for a new order in the galaxy. We would like to offer humanity a place at the negotiating table, one that ensures Earth's security in exchange for certain compromises." Drake held up a hand, signaling for the representative to stop. "No compromises. Humanity's security is non-negotiable. If you think that we can simply hand over our sovereignty for peace, you're gravely mistaken." The alien's smile faltered, but it quickly regained its composure. "Very well. Then let us move forward. We have prepared a demonstration of our good faith." Before Drake could respond, the holographic image of the called-in representative flickered. The transmission was suddenly interrupted, and a sharp alarm blared through the command center. "General, incoming fire," Marla shouted from the communications panel. "It's an ambush. The called-in forces are attacking." The bridge erupted into chaos. Drake's heart raced as the screens in front of him lit up with red alerts. Dozens of ships, previously cloaked and hidden in the shadows, now revealed themselves, surrounding the Dominion and launching a vicious assault. The Kaldin Syndicate had used the meeting as a ruse to lure humanity into their trap. "All hands, prepare for battle." Drake barked, gripping the armrest of his command chair. "Activate the shields. All weapons, fire at will." The Dominion rocked as the first volley of enemy fire struck its shields. The massive warship shook, but its hull held firm. Drake's eyes flashed with determination. "We won't be caught off guard. Counterattack with everything we've got." The crew of the Dominion sprang into action, firing on the called-in ships that surrounded them. Laser beams cut through the void, striking enemy vessels in a blaze of light. The Dominion was heavily outnumbered, but it was also heavily armed. Humanity's warship unleashed its full firepower, tearing into the enemy ships with devastating force. Despite the intensity of the battle, Drake's mind was razor-sharp. He knew the Kaldin Syndicate would be relentless, but humanity's resolve was stronger. The Dominion was humanity's symbol, and no one was going to take it down without a fight. "Target their command ships," Drake ordered. "Take down their leadership. That will cripple their fleet." As the Dominion's weapons locked onto the Kaldin flagship, the Kaldin representative's face reappeared on the holoscreen. But this time, there was no calmness in his voice. "You foolish humans," he snarled, his tone laced with fury. "You could have had a place in the new galaxy, but now you've sealed your fate. The Kaldin Syndicate will not rest until your fleet is destroyed, and your planet is nothing more than dust." Drake's eyes gleamed with cold resolve. "We're not afraid of you, and we're not backing down. This is humanity's fight now. You started this war, and we will end it." The Dominion fired its final shot, a concentrated beam that cut straight through the heart of the Kaldin flagship. The ship exploded in a massive fireball, sending shockwaves through the surrounding enemy vessels. The Syndicate's fleet faltered, their coordination lost as their leadership was obliterated in an instant. The remaining Kaldin ships began to retreat, realizing they were no match for humanity's firepower and determination. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. Drake stood tall in the midst of the chaos, watching as the enemy forces fled. "This is only the beginning," he said, his voice steady. "Humanity will not be taken down. Not today. Not ever." The galaxy had underestimated humanity, but now they would have no choice but to take notice. The Dominion had proven itself, and humanity had shown that it would not be ignored. The flames of war had been ignited, and the galaxy would never be the same again.